Let's talk about your work as a prison chaplain, Frank.
Prison chaplain started about 30 years ago. I did it for about 10 years. And the Reverend Malcolm Wiseman, who's a minister to small Jewish communities in England, asked me if I could help him because he was a circuit judge, and he was doing all this work. So I started visiting prisoners in Dartmoor Prison, Channing's Wood Prison and Exeter Prison. It was a fascinating experience. I remember going to Dartmoor. They insisted I was called Rabbi Gent. To us, you are Rabbi Gent. And then they said, here are the keys. Lose those, and it's about £2 million to replace them. It was really weird. I was given full freedom to go anywhere in the prison with the keys. In practice, I asked people to. I didn't know where to go, but it felt quite scary at times. I had such freedom, but I could be held hostage. In practice, the people I met were quite interesting. Some of the prisoners were really Jewish and were like you and me, only they got caught and we didn't. Other people were, as is typical in prison, many of them I would say were mentally ill. They had delusions. There was one Irishman who most definitely wasn't Jewish, but I think the underlying idea was Jews are rich, powerful and influential. If you say you're Jewish, they'll help you. They were very misguided. There are one or two rich and powerful Jews, and most of them aren't. But that was quite fascinating. Some people, I remember one guy called Larry, and I lent him a book, and he got caught, predictably, for a financial offence and ended up in Dartmoor Prison. Horrible place in the middle of nowhere. Even in summer, it was quite desolate. But years later, he made contact via Facebook. It was, there's always a rule: you don't have personal details shared with prisoners. It is risky. But Larry, to his credit, wanted to thank me, and he wanted to return the book I lent him on Jewish family life. And he'd lost the book, but he managed to buy a replacement, which he posted from France. So I was quite pleased with that. Other people did write to me and keep in touch. Channing's Wood was interesting. People think of it as an open prison. It's in the middle of nowhere, not marked on maps. That's part of the security. And getting in was strange. There were huge doors that opened. I had a special pass from the Home Office, which I've still got them actually, which allowed me to go in and I went into people's cells. I didn't meet people in the visiting room with screens or guards. I had complete freedom to go into the cells. I remember one guy, Mr. Akiyele, he was fascinating. He was Nigerian, from a group of Nigerians who claimed to be descended from one of the lost tribes of Israel. And he was quite amazing because he actually knew his stuff. He knew the Jewish rituals and everything. So I respected him, even though it seemed a bit strange. I can remember once going for the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and we took the shofar, the ram's horn, and he wanted to blow it. And my God, did he blow it? He wouldn't stop. He was blowing it like crazy, so the whole prison could hear. That was interesting. Like, the cells were fairly modern, but the toilet was actually in the cell, no separate wall or anything. It was just a visible toilet. And it was seeing life in prison for me. I met, what was his name? A guy who was in for murder. That was right, yes. I forgot. This is wonderful. Fletcher. Mr. Fleischer. He'd been in for murder many years. But I took them stuff for Passover, unleavened bread and stuff like that. And they appreciated it, and I would chat and listen. There were difficulties. There was, when you went to the special section, the sexual offenders part of the prison, where they're segregated for their own safety, and the warders would always insist they would tell me what the prison had done. A young man who worked at a pub on the edge of Jack Straw, Hampstead Heath, he was in prison, I believe, for sexually abusing and murdering a little girl. That was difficult. You sit and talk about general things and how you're getting on. Always in the back of your mind, there's this heinous crime. I would have preferred not to know, but that was part of the punishment as far as the prison was concerned, that a barrier was created, but I'd already visited other people. The worst prison of the three was Exeter, where it was really more like remand, where people were waiting for trial, and most of the prisoners were on 23-hour lockup, and it was very oppressive and so going in the cells there, I hated it. I did go. They were, I don't think any of the prisoners I met in Exeter were actually Jewish, but they were these people who claimed to be Jewish because they thought it would give them privileges rather than persecution within the prison for being bloody Jews, which is what really happened. But I remember they were absolutely delighted when I was allowed for Passover to give them not just the unleavened bread, but a bottle of kosher wine. They had a great party. I wasn't there, and they were so happy. The secret to prison life seemed to be getting one over on the system. They were so disempowered, but anything they could do to reclaim some personal power, like drinking alcohol, which is strictly illegal. You know, when I first went to Exeter, I remember being cross-examined and given the 3-line whip. You must not bring drugs in or telephones or anything like that. And they weren't telephones. It was a fight. I did it for about 10 years, and then a couple of prisoners tried to pull fast ones on me, and I lost faith in doing it, and I had other things to do, and I just stopped visiting prisons, and Malcolm Wiseman's son took over.